Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Dailies on Echo Television. Today, the 28th of November 2024. Quite a number of events on the paper, including that of the former governor of Kogi State, where we're seeing that December 10th has been set for a day that he might want to be, planning for bailing regarding the accusation or the allegation on the 110 billion naira. And we're saying that yesterday in the court, he actually pleaded not guilty to the 16 charges on him. So we have quite a number of stories on the paper. So please do well to go through it together with us. Drop your comment, drop your views, as all of them are very important to us. I have Rachel Tanzi with me. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, sir.
All right, we will be going through the papers, starting with the Blueprint newspaper.
On the Blueprint newspaper, NAF airstrike destroys terrorist gun truck, eliminate fighters in Borno. December 10th, set for bail application as Bello remains in AFCC custody. Hope raises as CBN unveils Forex B-match trading platform. On international friendly, Super Falcons officials jet to France. BRICS foreign inflows to Nigeria hit $1.27 billion in 12 months. You can start with the details on the front page. Adamawa LGAs enjoy financial autonomy since 2019. Statement from the commissioner. Boni unveils 2.9 billion naira empowerment for flood victims and others. The big story on the paper, outrage as presidential team explains tax reform bills to Senate. Bills may be passed today. Tinubu begin 3-day state visit in Paris. Elite responsible for not backwardness. This is a statement from Kuka. Steer clear of Marino. FX Limited SEC wants Nigerians. And we have King who promises to deepen collaboration with Nigerian partners. And that's all the news on Blueprint newspaper.
On Daily Times newspaper, court remands Yahya Bello in EFCC custody until December 10th. You can find detail of that in the paper. Tax reform bills receive boost as Senate receives presidential committee. Southeast road users decry extortion, frustration at checkpoints, and we're seeing that it seems as if each time it's almost getting to the end of the year, we have the Southeast drivers complaining about extortion on checkpoints. We hope that that will be rectified, and then those who are involved in all of this will be brought to book. Reps Committee grills Army Chief Oluyede behind closed door. We will record that the president submitted his name to the Senate to be made the chief of army staff, and we're seeing that the reps are trying to grill him, so we look forward to seeing what will be the outcome of that. Senate wants Development Commission for satellite towns. This is in FCT. The big story, Senate summons Work Minister Julius Berger, CCECC over Adupene. This is talking about the Calabar Highway Road. Downside of the paper, Tinubu to lead delegation to Nigeria, South Africa by National Commission. You can find detail of that in the paper. We have a picture where we can see our Vice President. You can do well to get the paper in more detail of what the stories and more are all about.
On Daily Independent newspaper, tax reform bill. Uproar in Senate as Nduma false procedure. Tax reform will lead to prosperity of Nigeria, and assurance from Adedeji. Federal government spends 8.8 billion naira to repair 128 vandalized power towers in 11 months. The big story on the paper, reps OK 2025 to 2027 MTEF probe Federation account remittances, approved $75 oil price, 2.06 million barrel per day crude production, and 1,400 naira to a dollar. Supreme Court affirms Ezu Kenwa as APGA national chairman. Tinubu names Abiola's son Jamiu SSA on linguistics and foreign matters. You can find details on page 7. Unizig VC tussle, Odo sues FUGUS for denying making him professor. Tinubu arrives Paris to fortify Nigeria-France relations. Reps investigate POS users, summon CBN governor, bank CEOs. Whatever not does must serve greater interest of Nigeria. This is a statement from Gowon. The writer says, cautions against returning to oil thinking of regional setting, cautions against returning to old thinking of regional settings, emphasizes why he supported creation of multiple states. The last story here, Access Bank acquires Standard Chartered banks in Angola and Sierra Leone. You can find details on page 7, and that's all the news on Daily Independent.
A new telegraph coming from Sheitima. BRICS investment flow into Nigeria grosses $1.27 billion. Learn First Bank rule on integration. You can start on the front page and continue in the paper. Federal government spent 8.8 billion naira to fix vandalized equipment. This is regarding power. And we have 230 contractors bid for supply of 2025 badges A and B, C, NYSC kits. 230 contractors bid for supply of 2025 badges A, B, C, NYSC kit, and I hope that these contractors will do a good job, because Rachel, I could clearly remember when I was a core member, some of these kits, some of the shirts are quite worn out. Some of the boots are quite big. Of course, you can't change that despite feeling of it, your size and all of that. And so I'm hoping that let us see something better, because if you're making it more like, you know, being in the paramilitary, because that is what the essence of the NYC are. So I'm looking forward to seeing this kits looking more better. The shirts especially, some of the whites don't really look great and all of that. The materials are substandard compared to when we started the kits initially. If you talk to some of our parents that went through the NYC, if you make comparison between the kits they use and what we were using, because I clearly remember then I even used some of the socks that belonged to my mom while I was still in nursery or primary. So you could actually tell that some of the kits were quite good compared to now. So we look forward to seeing better work being done by some of these contractors.
Until you hear how much is spent on a kit per core member, then you will be surprised. It's so much money, and then the quality is nothing to write home about. So if there's a complaint, I think it's in the right place. It's important for that. I can remember, I think everything keeps depreciating. It's not just the currency in Nigeria, even the quality and the standard of what we consume keeps going low. And yes, some of the kits are nothing to write home about. Most especially that shirt, it doesn't have the standard. It slacks very easily, and it's easy for you to just find yourself. You wash it once, twice, and then it feels like you've used it for 5 years and not just a couple of months and all of that. So I just hope that something is being done about it. Let there be a justification to how much is being spent. The money that is being given to this kit is worth having the quality. It also shows the corruption in our system, which we don't want to, you know, emphasize more about it at this moment. But then core members deserve quality. The whole year you're expected to keep dressing in this outfit. We core members rather deserve the best.
Of course, of course. See the new telegraph we have on air safety. Nigerian 66 million Europe radar system obsolete. I take that again on air safety. Nigerian 66 million Europe radar system obsolete. This is coming from the NEMA. You can read detail of that in the paper. And we also have the big story here that's talking about anger record in Senate over tax reform bills. Northern senators reject access granting FRS chair and others to make clarification on bills. Indume fails to mobilize colleagues for a walkout. Committee on Army screen Oluyede behind closed doors. More detail found on page 2 and 3. Federal government to probe Nigerian businessman 5-year detention in South Africa. Tinubu appoint Abiola SSA on linguistic foreign matters. MPA plans to increase container traffic at seaport by 70%. UK open biggest Africa visa application center in Lagos. You can read detail in the paper. And we have concerning lack of proper documentation and others. Reps summon CBN governor, bank CEOs, probe POS user issues. More detail in the paper. Why I'm in support of state creation by Gowan says whatever the North does must serve Nigerians' interests. And we have a study that links irregular sleep linked to heart attack and stroke risks. So for those who do not do have regular sleep, please do well to develop the habit of having sleep regularly so you can avoid heart attack and stroke. And we have the picture story where we can see the president together with his wife, the first lady, on their arrival in Paris, and that's all the New Telegraph newspaper.
On Nigerian news, direct tax reforms will ease burden of millions of Nigerian workers, the presidency is saying, as FIRS boss canvasses exclusion of vulnerable people in taxation. Police not charging vandals for actual crimes, TCN lament, says 8.8 billion naira spent on fixing vandalized transmission towers. Access Bank PLC completes acquisition of Standard Chartered Bank in Angola and Sierra Leone. Court remands Yahaya Bello in AFCC custody to deliver ruling on bail application December 10. ICPC arraigns ex-FMBN MD, 2 others over $65 million money laundering charge. I have never borrowed a dime to execute projects. This is a statement from Governor Adeleke, and that's all the news on Nigerian News Direct.
And on Daily Sun, we are having Supreme Court affirm Ezokume as Afghan National Chairman, bars Ojukwu from parading himself. You can find detail of that on page 8. Nigeria, China trade value hit 7.4 trillion naira as of June, coming from the Vice President Sheitima. Says volume of trade between countries highest in Africa. You can start reading on the front page and continue on page 6. Role in Senate over tax reform bill, where we're having lawmakers protest attempt by FRS chairman to address plenary without prior notification. Bill will ensure sustainable economic growth, coming from the presidency. Legislator to intervene, recover Epin power, 1.7 trillion naira electricity debts, detailed on the paper. Malwa charges NDLEA personnel to remain focused in battle against drug cartel. Malwa charges NDLEA personnel to remain focused in battle against drug cartels. You can find that story on page 4. Reps summon CBN Bank CEOs over unverified POS operators. Regarding the 110 billion naira fraud, court remands Bedu, others in EFCC custody. Ex-governor plead not guilty to the charges. We have the TUC demand improved working condition and payment of wage award arrears. You can find that in the paper. Federal government spent 8.8 billion naira to fix vandals power towers, data found in the paper. And we also have the pictures where we can see the president, his wife, were in their arrival in Paris on a 3-day visit to France. And that's all on the Daily Sun newspaper.
On the Nation newspaper, rather the Matrix newspaper, BRICS nations' investment in Nigeria hit $1.27 billion in June 2024. The UEFA Champions League, Liverpool break Real Madrid jinx with 2-0 win. Villarreal deny Villa victory. Tax reforms bill, Senate in rowdy session. The writer says Nduma kicks against FIRS boss appearance at plenary. 60 taxes levies collected across Nigeria, nothing to show for them, a statement from Daily. And the question for me is, how can they truly make sure that the vulnerable Nigerians are not affected by this tax and all of that? And secondly, if you are saying you are going after the elite and those who earn more, we are in a country and a system that people are very good in hiding their income and how much they earn. We have senators, we have politicians that do not announce or make known their assets before entering office and before going out. All of these things, people don't declare what they earn, their net worth. People hide their income to be able to evade tax. We're in a system that we do not even monitor such things properly. So how then can there be an assurance that, you know what, the vulnerable will not be affected by these tax reforms, and truly you will be only able to go after those who are at the higher end ranking or earning certain millions of naira monthly or at the end of the year and all of that. This is the challenge for me, and I do hope that they sit down and canvass truly a way that truly the vulnerable will not be affected by these tax reforms, and the business people, rich people out there who you are saying this tax reform is going to target them mostly, really get to be taxed at the end of the day. Still on the paper, federal government projects 33 trillion in revenue from livestock sector. The big story on the paper: remain in AFCC's custody for 2 weeks, says court. This is to Yahaya Bello. Justice Aneni to rule on bail application December 10. Records before court demonstrate bad conduct not deserving of bail persecution. Mild drama as judge angrily leaves courtroom over rowdiness. You can find details on page 2. SIREXE 2024 Conference, Shetima depart for Cote d'Ivoire. OB charges NNPCL on accountability of newly launched PH refineries operations. Supreme Court upholds Sly Ozekenwa as APGA national chairman. You can find details on page 6. Welcome to France is the caption of the picture, where we can see President Bola Tinubu and First Lady Senator Oluremi Tinubu arriving in Paris. And we have an entertainment story on Billboard. Beyonce crowned greatest pop star of the 21st century. And that's all the news on the Metrics newspaper.
On the Nation newspaper, Shell starting arbitration hearing with Venture Global, says the CEO. This is regarding the LNG, more detail found in the paper. How tax reform will transform economy by President's team. Edo schools in deplorable conditions, says Ekwebolo. Hospitals not completed, and I believe this is where your work should start. Looking into some of the roads that are very bad. We've seen a number of documentaries being done on the schools, some of the schools, and then the roads, and then let's hope that the hospitals will be completed, as you have stated. Act now on Almajiri time bomb, says Governor Sude. You can read that on page 2. The big story: make national interest priority. Go on, tell North leaders. Ex-head of state advises Shekoru-led group. You can read more detail. Now we have a caption here that says, let's think beyond regional interests. Whatever the North does must serve the greater interests of Nigeria. More detail found in the paper. The PH refinery petrol only for NNPCL outlets. You can read more detail regarding that. Yahya Bello get December 10 date for trial in 110 billion naira fraud charge. Ex-governor remanded in EFCC custody. Downside of the paper: Oyo government begins trial of auxiliary. House of Rep passes 2025 MTEF. More detail of the story can be found on page 6 as well as on page 7. And that's all on the Nation newspaper.
On First News newspaper, Nigeria will overcome insecurity under my leadership, acting Chief of Army Staff vows. Federal government reveals shocking 8.8 billion naira bill for repairing vandalized transmission towers. Obasanjo warns tragedy looms for peddlers of my dead rumor. Tragedy looms for peddlers of my dead rumor. Federal government warns security agencies against torturing suspects, reviews Anti-Torture Act. Reps to probe undocumented POS users, summon CBN governor and bank CEOs. Oyedele blasts Nigeria's tax system. Over 60 levies collected, yet no visible progress. Abiola's son joins Tinubu's team as SSA on linguistics and global relations. Yahaya Bello remanded in EFCC custody, court adjourns case December 10. Justice on hold, Cross River magistrates embark on strike, and that's all the news on First News.
On the Punch newspaper, Tinubu to name new envoys after France South Africa visit, data found on page 2. 30-year experience prepared me for the COAS jobs. That's talking about the acting chief of army staff, Oluyede. He said that 30-year experience has prepared him for the job, and we hope, just like he has stated, the fact that he will overcome insecurity under his leadership. I hope that he put that word to action, because this is what Nigerians are after. Finnish court set May 25th date for Ekpan's trial. You can read that on page 28. Tax panel to defend bill at Senate debate today. The big story is on the Port Harcourt refinery. Marketers threaten boycott as NNPCL jungles petrol prices. Dealers insist PMS must be cheaper than Dangote's. NNPCL delay price portal opening, restrict the product. You can read more detail of that on page 2. EFCC opposes Bello's bill application. Court remand the ex-governor. We can see the picture story stating that. Reps to probe 8.4 trillion naira allegedly withheld by NNPCL. Tragedy averted as tankers spilled diesel in Lagos, and we are happy that that was averted. And on Osun Airport, APC project panel clash over relocation. APC project panel clash over relocation. This is regarding the Osun Airport. You can find that on page 29. And that's all on the Punch newspaper.
On Nigerian Tribune, I have constructed over 120 kilometers of roads within 2 years, Adeleke says my administration did not obtain loan. Shell starting arbitration hearings with Venture Global, says CEO. It is concerning LNG. Raw in Senate over tax reform bills is a big story on the paper. The writer says Ndume Ningi battled DSP Bureau over appearance of Oyedele Zak in chamber. Bills will ensure sustainable economic growth, tax reform committee chairman is assuring the House. CBN fixes $100,000 minimum trade for banks on Forex platform. Senate screens Oluyede to become the permanent Chief of Army Staff. Supreme Court bars Njoku from parading himself as Afghan National Chairman. Court remands Yahaya Bello in EFCC custody to deliver ruling on bail application December 10. I created more states to erase fear of northern domination. This is coming from Gowon, and that's all the news on Nigerian Tribune.
Well, we look forward to seeing, I guess the statement is coming in regard to the Ariwa Consultative Forum, because after that statement, we've seen various bodies and, coming out to actually justify or either condemn what happened. We saw even when the northern youths were saying that the chairman should be removed from suspension. And I clearly remember saying the fact that, the youth should concentrate on what is meant for the youth and let the elders handle, because I know that that whole forum is meant for this. And I'm happy that we're beginning to have this elder statement talking about our former head of state, Gowon, talking about the reason why he created more states during his time just to eradicate this fear. Of course, we know that when you look at Nigeria, the North has quite a chunk part of, because we occupy more landmarks when you come. But then, nevertheless, I believe that there should be no fear, but then we should see that, just like I stated, let us see power being rotated around. I mean, nobody's more Nigerian than the other, regardless of who you are, what religion or what tribe you belong. You should have the opportunity to rule if you have what it takes. So let's look forward to seeing the North or any other part not being afraid of the North is taking over. And we hope that the North will take advantage of the opportunity they have had to be one of the key people to actually rule Nigeria, to actually do something regarding the Almajiris we're seeing fear, and then regarding education that is really lacking, and many other things that the North is suffering, because we have no right to suffer the way we are, the northern part. So I'm hoping that we have leaders that will think positive regarding the North and do something. Well, I guess before we move further to another paper, let's take a timer just to take you through the story. What do you feel regarding the bill application that has been stated for December 10 regarding the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, as well as we're saying that the president is out of the country with his wife on a 3-day visit to Paris, as well as even South Africa. So when we come back, we will continue the paper review. Please stay tuned with us.
Make your everyday informative, make your everyday count. Know your world, daily affairs, national and international, with authentic news events as they unfold on Global News and Zuma Nigeria, Monday to Friday at 1 p.m.
Thanks for staying tuned in. Still the Dailies. We have been looking at a number of stories that are making the rounds on the paper regarding the tax reform. What is the approach, as well as we're seeing that the reps are trying to more like grill the acting chief of army staff, so that hopefully he will be the new chief of army staff, as he's saying that 30 years of experience have given him enough time to be able to fight insecurity, as well as we're saying that the former head of state Gowon is saying that whatever the North need to do, they should do it for the greater interests of Nigeria. So we have quite a number of stories. We will love you to please dive into it, drop your comment, drop your views, as they are always welcome. Thank you so much, Rachel.
You're welcome, sir.
All right, let's continue with the Guardian newspaper. 555,000 shareholders forfeit 215 billion naira dividend over cost and inflation. And we're seeing some of the shareholders. We have First Bank, we have Dangote, Nestle, we also have the Nigerian Breweries Limited, and we're also seeing unclaimed dividend drivel process, where we're seeing the lock on the note, your registrar's name, downloading and filling of your registrar form, and then so many other things that need to be done, and then how you finally submit the form. So for those who are affected by it, please do well to read properly about how to go about claiming some of these unclaimed dividends on page 6. Power generation stagnant amid promises repair of 128 towers at 8.8 billion naira. Detail found on page 3. Transport-related accident caused more children's death, Lagos declares. Transport-related accident caused more children's death. This is a declaration coming from the Lagos government. You can read that on page 4. ABU decries 310 million naira per session electricity bill. ABU decries 310 million naira per session electricity bill. You can read detail of that on page 29. Senate braces for heated debate as tax reform bill set for passage today. So we hope to keep our fingers crossed and see what will be the outcome. Nigeria has sufficient resources to build self-reliant economy, says Obasanjo. Court remands Bello, 2 others over alleged 110 billion naira fraud. Dawn raises alarm as diabetes causes such may rise to 783 million by 2045. Dawn raised the alarm as diabetes cases such may rise to 783 million by 2045. So there is a need for us to look into these cases. More data found on page 2. I created more states to douse fear of northern domination, says Gowon. You can read more detail of what he said on page 3, and that's all on the Guardian newspaper.
On Leadership newspaper, tension in Senate over tax reform bills. Vandals destroy 128 transmission towers in 11 months. Trending, the video criticized for advertising Black Americans against Nigeria. A number World Health Organization launches $2 million surveillance grant. You can find both trends and numbers on page 2. Survival of Nigeria's democracy rests on not a statement from Gowon. The big story on the paper: after system upgrades, bank customers lament persistent failed transactions, express frustration, count losses, bank foot drag over issues, queries. Our reconciliation takes weeks. Yahaya Bello arraigned, remanded in EFCC custody. MNJTF kills 15 terrorists in Kukawa attack. Reps probe discourse over outdated meters. Tinubu arrives in France for state visit. And that's all the news on Leadership newspaper.
On the Vanguard newspaper, Shell starting arbitration hearing with Venture Global CEO. This is regarding the LNG. Federal government wants security agencies stop torturing suspects. You can read that in the paper. Gunmen kidnapped 3 from Innocent showroom in Anambra. This is a sad one. You can read on page 11. The big story, which is on tax reform bills, Nigerians earning below 1 million naira a year exempted from income tax. Nigerians earning below 1 million naira a year exempted from income tax. Senate to pass the bill today. Daily and others experts explain to lawmakers say the bill purports to tax prosperity. So you can read detail of that on page 5. I guess this is where we'll have Nigerians laminating this page of the paper, and then just to be sure that anybody that is earning below 1 million naira doesn't get affected by this. So we look forward to seeing the Senate doing a good job today during the debates. Still on the Vanguard newspaper, reps investigate discourse over failure to replace obsolete meters. Detail found on page 8. Experts call for intervention in rising cases of diabetes. Experts call for intervention in the rising cases of diabetes. And on alleged 110 billion naira fraud, ex-Governor Bello Docket remanded in EFCC custody. And we have a sports story on page 31. I will quit if Super Eagles qualify for 2026 World Cup. This is coming from Bros. You can read more detail. And that's all on Vanguard newspaper.
On this day newspaper, the big story, Senate in rowdy session over landmark tax reforms bill. Adedeji Yakubu Oyedele explained fiscal policies seek support. The top of the paper, Senate wades into federal government's 1.6 trillion naira debt to urban industries, FX crunch, gas supply constraints, and others. TCN indicts police as federal government spends 8.8 billion naira to repair 128 vandalized power towers. House approves MTEF pegs exchange rate at 1,400 naira to a dollar and oil benchmark of $75 per barrel of crude oil. You can find details on page 9. Major marketers suspend petrol import now sourced from Dangote refinery. Lifted 148 million liters from refinery in 10 weeks. I think that the Dangote refinery has more capacity than the PH refinery. If we are seeing 148 million from refinery in 10 weeks, then its percentage is way above the 2.8 percent that the PH refinery will be able to give of just about 1.4 million barrel per day. It's still not, if we're looking at 10 weeks, it's still not up to the amount that we need our daily consumption. I know it dropped drastically when the fuel pump price went high. Our consumption went below 50 million barrel a day. However, this looks, if we are having marketers not going outside and sourcing it from Dangote refinery, then I think we are making headway a little bit when it comes to oil production in the country. Alleged 110 billion naira fraud court decides Bello's bill request December 10. And the picture story is at Echo Bank Design and Build Expo 2. And that's all the news on this day newspaper.
On the Business Day newspaper, Naira steadies after CBN rate hike as analysts see currency appreciation in 2025. So let's see, just like we said yesterday during the discussion of the the interest rate, hopefully the first quarter of 2025 we should see the effect or the impact of this monetary tightening. In Port Harcourt refinery, same as blending plants. There's a question and explainer that says, is the Port Harcourt refinery same as blending plants? You can read more detail of why or if truly it is the same. Malaria ravages families as cause of prevention treatment source. More detail found on page 30. Business Day celebrates excellence as 2024 Nigeria Business Leadership Award. You can start reading on the front page and continue on page 31. And that's all on Business Day newspaper.
On Punchport Extra, Jank rule out Oroko Dari January exit. Sadiq wants more playing time. Gasperini credits Lookman for Atlanta form. Osimhen out to continue Europa form, and we have formidable Spurs host troubled Romans, that is Tottenham versus Roma. Mbappe back to become Madrid legend. Lewandowski beaming after 100 UCL goals. Pogba keen on Old Trafford return. Newcastle ponder Ramos move. You can find details on page 6. Nigeria secure Africa World Cup qualifier final spot in cricket. Now, Adova HPL safety babes Niger win and Pillars Kings lose. You can find details on page 2. Ajaba to battle Bakole in IBF mandatory. The big story is a question: who is Hill? The writer says profiling ex-Man United coach aiming to become next Eagles coach. And that's all the news on Point Sports Extra.
Still on sport rather, on Metric Sport, where we're seeing La Liga, Sadiq demands more playing time at Real Sociedad. We have Lamine Yamal wins 2024 Golden Boy Award. Liverpool breaks Real Madrid jerks with 2-0 win. VAR deny Vida victory. You can find that in the paper. I was caught off guard. Yoda clarifies harming self-comment. You can read that in the paper. We have tables for Premier League and as well for La Liga. This was as of yesterday, so you can do well to know what's happening for sport lovers. And that's all the Metric Sport, as well as how far we can go on the program this morning. Thank you, Rachel, for that.
You're welcome, Stella.
And as well, thank you to our viewers. Thank you to every other person who made this program a success. See you tomorrow. Have a great day.